Hey, good morning, Cole Canyon Coyotes. Welcome to our Friday Flag video. We appreciate you all tuning in. Let's begin our Friday Flag video as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Hey guys and girls, we appreciate your kindness this week out on the playground, but a few reminders are in order as they relate to the food court area during our snack and recess lunch times. Remember that your wrappers, disposable food trays, napkins, and other trash is your responsibility. It never is Eddie's. Nothing says, hey Eddie, Mr. Eddie, I respect you and your hard work around campus than taking care of your own trash and your own business there. So when you enjoy time at the lunch tables with your food, be a hero and keep this area neat and tidy. Mr. Eddie and the entire school thanks you ahead of time for keeping your area clean and tidy. Now here's Miss Lane.
Good morning. I hope everyone has had an amazing week so far as we navigated through some wet weather. I want to take a moment to thank each and every single one of you for your cooperation and making this all work. And speaking of being helpful and respectful, a special shout out to our leadership students who are helping with the equipment each day to ensure it is ready for you at recess. This coming week, starting next Tuesday, February 18th, we will have Harper Roth, Drew Callahan, Cozy Martinez, and Sophia Diaz. The four of you will report to the red cart at the beginning of the day at 8:25 a.m. to help set up the playground for each day next week. Jane Todd and Hannah Neese will kick off next week doing the Pledge of Allegiance and morning announcements. Thank you for being such wonderful students and keep up the great work. Now let's turn it over to our fantastic counselor, Mr. Zanartu, for Howley's Heroes.
Today we're learning how to play Ultimate, an exciting game inspired by Ultimate Frisbee. This is a fast-paced, competitive, great way to show teamwork. Let's go over the rules and learn how to play. Ultimate is played on a basketball court with marked end zones. Each team has no more than 5 players, and players wear pennies to distinguish what team they're on. They can wear them on their body or in their pocket. To begin, when you have the ball, you start in your own end zone. You must pass the ball in your half of the court before advancing. Once you've retained it for at least one pass, you can pass the ball as many times as you need to make it from one end of the court to the other. If the ball is intercepted, dropped, or knocked down, possession changes immediately to the other team. At the point where you score, which means you catch the ball, you go over and you sub in if there are kids who are subbing. You can high-five them if they don't have a penny, or if you have a penny, make sure to go over, high-five them, and exchange the pennies so that they can join the other team. This sport, like others, has no physical contact, so make sure you go for the ball, not the player. Gameplay continues until the bell rings or the established end of the game. At that point, show that you're a good sports by saying good job, nice try, good game. So that's the game of Ultimate. It's very much a football-like game full of speed, competitiveness, and fun. So let's go out there, enjoy the recess, score some touchdowns, and have fun.
And hello, students and staff. As you all know, today Thursday flag video, we recognize those students in all the grade levels who have earned that hero shout out from their teacher. That means they're showing how to be helpful, encouraging, respectful, and outstanding. In kindergarten, big congratulations from Mrs. Amscroft's class, Daphne and Chevelle, Mrs. Miller's class, Isabella and Carson, and in Mrs. Gorton's class, Reagan and James. In first grade, in Mrs. Moore's class, Adeline, Mrs. Espinosa's class, Fiona, Mrs. Cron's class, Nolan, and Mrs. Stringer's class, Selena. Now in second grade, in Mrs. Garrity's class, Landon, Mrs. Gonzalez's class, Mateo, Mrs. Manzel's class, Wyatt, and Mrs. Pacey's class, Dylan. Now in third grade, Mrs. Hess's class, Bodie and Riley, Mrs. Hewitton's class, Luke, Mrs. Tope's class, Marigold, Mrs. Hartley's class, Mila, Mrs. Welch's class, Paige, and Mrs. Levin's class, Sophia. Now, in fourth grade, from Mrs. Murray's class, Alicia, Mrs. Trujillo's class, Dominic, Mrs. Calvio Murray's class, JR, Mrs. Ariana's class, Mac, Mr. Pacey's class, Sarah. Finally, last but not least, in 5th grade for Mrs. Greensee's class, Aaliyah, Mrs. Hemrick's class, Isabella, Mrs. Bethke's class, Jacob, Mrs. Schroeder's class, Philip, and last but not least, for Mrs. Miranda's class, big congratulations to Xander. Huge congratulations to all the students who earned that weekly shout out. Those names, of course, are going to be entered into that monthly drawing for our live Friday flag. That's happening at the end of the next month. And congratulations to all of those students who won that golden ticket on our morning announcement. Sorry we weren't able to get to that Friday flag with the weather and such. Let's send it off to Mr. Shaw to have us close out.
Thank you, Mr. Z. Thank you, Miss Lane. We are so proud of your efforts to be heroes in your classroom and out on the playground. We hope these Friday Flag videos encourage you to make choices that are good and support you to be part of a dynamic community of learners. Have a great 4-day weekend, everyone. We'll see you back on Tuesday. Special shout out to staff. Thank you for hanging in there during the weather. You are all rock stars. Take care, all. Enjoy your time.